From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Sportsline.
Hey there, Titans Talk on your television. Steve Layman here with you. Glad you are here with us on this Tuesday night, a rare Tuesday night edition of the program after a Monday night football performance that was one to forget last night in Buffalo. The Titans totally dominated 41-7 and dropping to 0-2 to start a season for the first time since 2012. It was a rough one. The Bills scored the final 34 points of the game. Josh Allen looked like the MVP, throwing for 4 touchdowns, 3 of them to Stephon Diggs, who seemingly was open all night long, regardless of whoever the Titans had on him. He's a great player, but he was able to do whatever he wanted last night against the Titans defense. The Bills put up 41 points, again, the final 34 of the game. And offensively, the Titans just never really were able to get things going. The first drive of the game was excellent. They marched right down the field and had an answering touchdown to what the Bills were able to do, and it was a 7-7 game. From that point on, it became impossible for them to sustain drives. The time for Ryan Tannehill to throw became less. Derrick Henry never got going, just 13 carries for 25 yards. And the passing game continues to lack real dynamic playmakers. As Keith Bullock told us on Sunday night on the Electric Power Company Sunday Sports Central, there's no wide receiver or no pass catcher on this team right now that scares me as a defender. And that's a problem right now if you are the Titans, because that's the thing you had in the past with A.J. Brown. Whatever you think about what happened at the end, when A.J. Brown was on the field for the Titans, as a defense, you had to respect that fact. Derrick Henry was still the focal point of the offense, and he probably always will be as long as he is here. But when A.J. Brown was there, there was a fear that opponents had that in one play he could beat you. If Henry's going to beat you in one play, he has to literally run through you for 50 or 60 or 70 yards. He's capable of doing that. But A.J. Brown has the ability to get down the field, make a play, make one guy miss maybe, and take it to the house his way, through the air. That requires you defensively to play differently. You have to expand the box in which you're playing. You have to expand what you're defending and move downfield 20 and 30 yards at times. And that pulls people out of the proximity of the line of scrimmage, out of the box, to slow down Derrick Henry. And we saw that time and time again over the last couple of years, that it wasn't always A.J. Brown having a monster game, but it was just the presence of him being there that opened things up for Derrick Henry. And then Henry had the monster game because you couldn't creep 9 guys into the box, you had to have 7. Because he had to pay attention just a little bit to the threat within the Titans passing game. That doesn't exist anymore. And so now if you're an opponent, you can really gear up to stop Henry. And if you stop Henry, well, good luck to the passing game. Because so much of the Titans passing game is predicated off the running game getting going into that play action game and getting Tannehill some time to make an accurate throw down the field. And we just didn't see that last night, especially as the game went along and it was clear that they couldn't run. 1, they weren't successful when they were running, but 2, the game dictated you had to move away from it because all of a sudden early in the second half, you're down 24-7, then 31-7. You can't stay with the running game there. You have to pass the football. And the Titans just are not situated right now to pass the ball all over the yard against teams. And they certainly weren't last night. So there is a big chasm between a Bills team right now that very much looks the part of a Super Bowl favorite and what we saw from this Titans team last night. They were the number 1 seed last year in the AFC. But the Bills are in a different league right now. And so the question to you is, how discouraging was last night's performance? Can the Titans bounce back from it? They have to this weekend against the Raiders. Where do you see this team going now? Do you still think they can win the division? Are you concerned about their playoff chances and getting back there? Do you think this is a blip on the road at the beginning of the season? Or is this cause for long-term concern with what's going on? Our phone lines are open, 737-7767. We'd love to hear from you tonight on the program after what you watched last night and looking forward to the rest of the year. I can tell you some people are not happy, certainly about the offensive performance. There's actually an online petition started today requesting that the Titans fire offensive coordinator Todd Downing. There's been about 1,200 or 1,300 signatures on it so far. It's not a hugely popular thing, at least that people care about getting involved with right now. And Mike Vrabel said today he has no plans to do that. At this point, it's not about, as he put it, self-preservation. It's about rallying everybody in the building together, players, coaches, everyone, and getting on the same page and moving forward to try to win a football game. Something they've done a lot of in that building, and now they need to do it after losing back-to-back games to start the season. So Todd Downing is fine, but certainly he's getting a lot of the ire of Titans fans who are very disappointed with the start of this season. There are a lot of problems when you look at the Titans right now. Last night, the Bills are just better. There's no question about it. But the Titans made a whole bunch of mistakes. Gave up sacks. They had 9 penalties. They had 4 turnovers, 3 by the quarterbacks, 2 by Tannehill, 1 by Malik Willis when he came in. They muffed 2 punts. One of them they're fortunate enough to recover, but they muffed 2 punts on special teams. They had penalties defensively. They got beat a bunch defensively. They had some missed assignments defensively, a few missed tackles again, like we saw in week 1 against the Giants. And there were a lot of mistakes that compounded the issues. But here's one problem I look at just right off the cuff. Even if you only look at the part of the game that was competitive, whether you want to say that's the first half or maybe first couple of possessions into the second half, even if you only want to look at that, take away the big mistakes as everything snowballed in the second half and it really got ugly. Did you see enough plays out there in the first half of the game, let's say, that could have been made by the offense to make you feel confident that this offense is anywhere close to clicking on all cylinders? Did you see enough from the defense to think that they can limit those mistakes and truly defend a really good offense? And some of that has to do with injuries. They got hurt by the injury bug again last night. But that was one thing that was concerning to me, is even in the first half, before things got really bad, before things really piled up and started to snowball and it got out of hand, I don't know if looking back at the tape, I see the plays there offensively that tell me, oh, if you just make this block or the throw's just there or he hits that hole, that's a big play. That could be a different thing. I just didn't see many of those. I didn't see it enough defensively either. But then when you get past that, I think that's when you get into the real problems. Number one, the offensive line is abysmal right now. And we knew it was going to be a concern. But it is a major concern through 2 weeks. Even more so by the fact that Taylor Lewan went down on the very first play of the game last night offensively to what looked like a non-contact knee injury, which usually spells very bad news. If he's gone for any length of time, you've got to have real concern about what this offensive line is going to look like. So that's the first problem. The second problem offensively is the passing game. Ryan Tannehill, 2 interceptions last night. They came when he was trying to do everything in the world to get the Titans back into the game when they were already essentially out of it. So I don't read a lot into those 2 interceptions necessarily. They weren't good, but I don't read a ton into it because early in the game, he did what was there, what was presented. The problem I have is within the offense or within the guys who are running the routes within the offense, there wasn't much there. There wasn't a lot to find. And as I said earlier, when the running game dries up, can you be effective within this offense that is trying to throw off a play action, trying to move the ball down the field with time in the pocket? It becomes much, much harder, as we saw last night. But the biggest concern, I think, maybe within the offense, yes, the offensive line is chief priority number one, but they have to find a way to get production from the running game. This is the identity of the Titans football team, is to run the ball with Derrick Henry. And right now, if you look at Henry through 2 weeks, 34 carries, way below what he's averaged in the past, because of the way the games have gone. And certainly last night because of how much they were out of the game. But he's averaging 53 yards per game. You're talking about a guy who's averaged over 100 yards per game over the last 3.5 seasons. 53 yards per game through the first 2 weeks. As this offense tries to find its footing, he can't even find his footing. More troubling, 3.1 yards per touch. 2 years ago, when he ran for 2,000 yards, Derrick Henry ran for 5.5 yards per carry. He's barely over 3 right now. If that doesn't change, it is going to be a very long year for the Titans offense. He knows it. They know it. It just simply has to be better. Defensively, the pass rush was not really existent last night. Huge blow with Bud Dupree out of the game. Obviously, Harold Landry's already gone. But we thought this pass rush was going to be a potent asset for the Titans, and I think it still can be. But it wasn't there last night against Josh Allen and the Bills. The run defense, much better last night, but the secondary, because of those injuries in the youth, got absolutely exposed. They've got to be better. Can they be consistently over the next several weeks and the rest of the season? That's up to them, but they've got to be better. And then the special teams. 2 more muffed punts last night, a lack of real explosiveness in the kickoff return game. And then you think back, as bad as these first 2 weeks have been, if Randy Bullock makes a 47-yard field goal at the end of week 1, the Titans beat the Giants and they're 1-1 right now, tied with the Jaguars at the top of the division, and getting set to host the Raiders in what would be a totally different feeling situation right now. But that didn't happen. They weren't able to pull out week 1. And so they sit here at 0-2. Lots of issues that the Titans have to think about fixing and figure out a way to do it, and do it now on a short turnaround week before a noon kickoff on Sunday. Again, our phone lines are open, 737-7767. Your thoughts on the game last night, your thoughts on where this team goes from here, and how big of a concern is it watching the biggest defeat in the Vrabel era last night, in a game, by the way, that has kind of been his trademark. That when the backs are against the wall and nobody counts on them to do anything or counts them out of a game against a good opponent, the Titans in the Vrabel era have showed up time and time again and been awesome in that environment. They've won in that environment. And not only did they not win last night, they got blown out. They got embarrassed. Or as Mike Vrabel said last night, we got our tails kicked. Only he didn't use the word tail. The Titans had a bad performance last night in a space that they normally have some of their best performances. Is that a concern to you? The result itself against a great team. And what do you think moving forward now as they sit there 0-2 for the first time in a decade? Go to the phones now. Say hello to Gordon. Gordon, good evening and welcome to Titans Talk.
Thanks, Steve. Wow, I agree with just about everything you said. You know, what concerns me most about this team right now is they don't just need one thing to fix. They're not clicking on any cylinders. I mean, Derrick Henry didn't get any yards, but how many times were the Bills in the backfield before he took his first step?
Whole bunch.
You can't put that on him. I haven't heard what the update is on Taylor Lewan, so I don't know if he's out for the season or be back next week. But we certainly need him. What concerns me is there were penalties, there were muff punts, the run game was terrible, the passing game was terrible, there were interceptions. It's hard to find anything good to point to after the first quarter. And what concerns me even more than this game, which was a real blowout, is the first game. Because that game told us, I think, as much as last night did. Last night we played possibly the best team in the NFL. So I wasn't expecting us to win. I was just hoping it wouldn't be a blowout. But the game against the Giants exposed a whole lot of weaknesses. Weaknesses in the defense, weaknesses in the run game wasn't that good. Special teams. I don't even know where this team starts right now. And I don't think this is maybe a big deal, but I don't see Hassan Haskins as a kickoff returner. He's a bull. He's not a speedster. I don't know whose idea that was.
Well, Trenton Cannon, it was the kickoff returner, and he hurt his knee on the opening kickoff, covering the kickoff against the Bills last night. So he would have been the kickoff returner, but he got hurt. So then they go to Haskins in that situation. So they essentially moved on from their kick returner and their punt returner in the same game last night.
Okay. Well, I'll be interested in your comments. Right now, I don't have a whole lot of hopes for this team because I think they have so many things to fix. And, this is the defense that was going to be a top 5-6 defense, and they sure don't look like it right now. I mean, they let Saquon Barkley have his way with them in the run game, and it's really hard to find something they're doing well right now.
Yep.
So I hope they can fix it, but I don't know what that would be.
Yeah, Gordon, it's so true. They really have more questions than answers at this point, and thank you for the call. The defense is a real frustration because it was supposed to be what this team hung its hat on until they could figure out some of the offense with the new personnel this year. And to give up the amount of yards they gave up, nearly 300 yards rushing in week 1 to the Giants when there wasn't much of a passing attack. But, oh, by the way, they gave up a 65-yard touchdown pass in that game. Two things this team focuses on is stopping the run defensively and don't give up X plays. Don't give up big, explosive, dynamic plays. That's what got them beat in week 1 by, I know the Giants won again this weekend and they're 2-0 now, but I don't think that's a very good football team. And the Titans essentially gifted them the game in the second half. And then even when they did enough to get themselves back in position to somehow win it after the collapse, they miss the field goal and they don't win it. And that's the other thing is, look, this league's weird. The Rams nearly went to 0-2 this weekend by blowing a huge lead to the Falcons at home. The Ravens did blow a huge lead to the Dolphins at home. I mean, weird things happen at times in this league, but here's the thing about the Rams. The defending Super Bowl champs did not play well. Gave up a whole bunch of stuff. Nearly blew a 28-point lead or 28-3 lead to the Falcons. You know what happened at the end of the game? Jalen Ramsey, the All-Pro, made an interception to seal it. And they walked out of there not playing well, not feeling good, but with a win and at 1-1. Other teams did the same thing. It wasn't pretty, but they found a way to win. Good teams, and in the past, the Titans would have done this. Ugly game, but you get in position at the end, and Randy Bullock makes that field goal, and you win. It didn't happen in week 1. And it's just one kick. But sometimes a kick tells you more than maybe it should. And the way that game played out just didn't look like a good team. And last night, they really didn't look like a good team. The best news is the Bills aren't on the schedule anytime soon. They're back home against the Raiders. The Colts and the Commanders the next 2 weeks are on the road, but teams that you can beat if you play well. And then you get a bye week. Maybe they can salvage something here and get a couple wins, get on the board. The AFC South is certainly not a juggernaut. So maybe they can get going, get some momentum, and really take control of that race the way people thought they were going to. But they got to go back to the drawing board because there is a lot to fix, as Gordon, the caller, pointed out. It is hard to tell you right now, as we sit here, what this team hangs its hat on. We thought it was going to be the run game, like always with Derrick Henry. We thought it was going to be the defense with that pass rush and a group that should be stout against the run. I'm not sure if any of that's true. And there's nothing else that you can really sit there and think about as a positive for this team through 2 weeks. So what's going to be the identity? What is going to be this team's hallmark moving forward? And will it be good enough? We want to hear from you. 737-7767 is our number. We got more Titans talk on the way right after this.